This is one of the main guys that created Path of Exile. And he made a YouTube video a few days ago called Dark Patterns, Are Your Games Playing You? Uh-oh. This video's peak? I haven't seen it. That's why I wanted to watch it on stream.
A few years ago, a friend of mine carried a laptop 6 kilometers through the bush just to log into a game and keep a daily login streak alive.
Oh.
That's not fun. That's not entertainment. That's a dark pattern. Hi, I'm Chris Wilson. In this video, I want to show you how some modern games manipulate your schedule, your wallet, and even your friendships. You may have heard the term dark pattern before.
Yeah.
It refers to a design that deliberately manipulates user behavior, usually to get those users to spend money or engage more than they intended.
A really great example of this is whenever Diablo 4 had the thing where your icon and your character, your selector, was automatically on the box that said buy the battle pass or renew the battle pass, and there was no confirmation box on it. So you would have somebody that would open up the tab and then double click and then accidentally buy the battle pass.
A classic example is a hotel site flashing scarcity cues like, only one room left, 4 people are booking right now. You also see services that are easy to sign up for but hard to cancel.
Yes.
Confirm shaming buttons that say, I'd rather pay full price. Optional extras like shipping insurance being automatically added to your shopping cart. Or pop-ups that say, don't leave yet, you have unpurchased items. Dark patterns like these are increasingly common, to the point where regulators and consumer groups are starting to push back.
Thank God. We're late to it. Like, the US is pretty bad with this. The EU is better.
Today I want to talk about a less discussed form of dark patterns, and that's their use in the games that we play and make. Given how much money is made by the games industry, it's no surprise that some developers are applying psychological principles to the reward systems of their games.
And by some developers, he means all developers. Basically, every single video game that has a store is a situation where the tail ends up wagging the dog. There are exceptions, but this is a general rule, where as soon as a video game introduces a store, and this is especially true whenever the store has pay-to-win items, the game itself then becomes a apparatus that is a funnel into the store.
Manipulate players into engaging more. In this video, I'm not talking about gameplay systems that are intentionally addictive or immersive. That's part of the entertainment you signed up for.
Yeah, sure.
I'm talking about the meta systems. Monetization tricks, retention loops, psychological hooks, and UI traps that manipulate you outside of the actual gameplay. Another way to look at this is, if a developer focuses on making a game as compelling as it possibly can be, and it ends up really fun, interesting, and makes players want to play it again and again, then that developer won't need to rely on manipulative psychological tricks to artificially improve their metrics.
But that's hard to do.
Enough preamble. Let's get into some dark patterns. So, like with non-game products, user interface dark patterns are common. For example, some mobile games ask you to rate them out of 5 stars. If you pick 5, you're sent straight to the App Store to leave a review. Anything less sends you to a developer feedback form instead. This quietly
How convenient.
biases actual reviews towards higher ratings by making lower scoring reviews harder to leave. Another example of a user interface dark
It's just like this, it's so slimy, isn't it? It's so manipulative and so slimy.
pattern is a game that allows you to spend real money to level up gems that can be socketed into your gear.
You're talking about Diablo Immortal, but you don't want to say it because you were in the industry and you had a game that was competing against it, and everybody knows you're talking about Diablo Immortal, but you don't want to say it.
But players might find that once they have completely maxed out a gem at great expense, more sockets appear, requiring them to spend more money than they initially intended to completely max out their character.
Yeah.
This moving of the goalposts could potentially manipulate players into thinking they were going to complete their character for one price when it actually costs a lot more.
Exactly. And then you have the sunk cost fallacy that allows them to spend even more money.
They may not have committed to spending as much if they knew that from the start. Dark patterns in games extend far beyond just deceptive user interfaces, though. They're typically categorized as temporal, social, psychological, and monetary dark patterns. I've put some links to some of my references that have comprehensive lists in the video description, but I'll go through a few of the major ones with you right now. Before we get started, I should note that pretty much any mechanism that tries to manipulate a change in user behavior is considered a dark pattern in games, but the severity varies a lot. Some of them are much more mild than others, and we'll all have different opinions about which of them are harmless and which are going too far. I'll weigh in with my personal feelings about this later in the video. Many live service games have daily login rewards. In behavioral psychology...
Do you know why they have daily login rewards? It's because they want you to keep logging in and continue playing the game. That's it. There's no benefit to the player to have a daily login reward. Elden Ring doesn't need daily login rewards. Baldur's Gate 3 doesn't have daily login rewards. And to be fair, Monster Hunter World had daily login rewards. So there are great games that have them, but I think that they are just pointless, annoying retention mechanisms that don't really add anything positive to the game. Like, I don't like them. I don't think that they're fun.
When an action is followed by a reward, your brain learns to repeat it.
Ooh.
Every day that you log in and receive this
schedule.
reward, you'll get a hit of dopamine, building a habit over time. Players who are conditioned to logging in every day do it not because they're excited to play, but because it feels like brushing their teeth, just something they have to do.
I did this for 15 years with WoW. Where I would get on my computer, and I would just instinctively log into the game, and I would log in and then immediately just like go do something else on the internet. But it just felt like the right thing to do to log in.
Some games have login streaks. This is where the rewards escalate for each sequential day you log in. When you break the streak, your rewards reset back down to the minimum level. Now, humans have a strong...
You got to keep the hamster on the treadmill, okay?
...sense of loss aversion, where losses feel roughly twice as bad as gains feel good. And hence players will go significantly out of their way to avoid breaking these streaks. As I mentioned before, I have a friend who was on an off-the-grid camping trip and had to walk 6 kilometers with his laptop and a 3G modem so he could keep a login streak going in some random game he was playing. There are even games out there that let you pay real money to restore a broken streak.
Skeeter gameplay. I'm sorry. That is Skeeter gameplay. Wow. It's embarrassing.
In addition to daily login bonuses, many games have daily tasks or challenges which reset every 24 hours. Players feel obliged to complete these so that the easy rewards don't go to waste. They don't want to miss out on cheap progress that everyone else is getting.
Exactly. You feel like you're getting
Some
behind.
games rely on dark patterns rooted in social obligation to manipulate you into behaving differently.
That's right.
For example, it's common for mobile base builder games to have guilds or clans where daily participation, like doing quests or
my Clash of Clans clan is amazing, by the way. It's phenomenal. Only the best people are in my clan.
Donating resources is important for your guild to succeed.
But the other clans besides mine are bad.
If you don't log in each day and perform these actions, you let your friends down, which causes guilt and social pressure for you to be active daily. This dark pattern can exploit and strain our friendships, especially when the game is tuned to make daily participation essentially mandatory.
Yes.
Other games feature gifting between players, where reciprocation of gifts is rewarded with extra bonuses. This taps into reciprocity pressure to cause you to feel the need to log in daily and return gifts to people. Some games have refer a friend bonuses, or even outright pyramid schemes,
Warcraft,
where you make faster progress if you have recruited an extensive network of friends to join the game and play with you.
I cannot imagine playing a game like that. That's crazy.
Time-gated tasks, or playing by appointment...
Actually, I say that, but literally everything he said applies to Recruiter Friend program in World of Warcraft, because you would level fast with the person that you recruited.
The game tells you have to come back at a specific time or face consequences. Popularized by farming games where your crops would wither and die if not harvested at the right time, the game forces control of your schedule, sometimes making you wake up in the middle of the night to click buttons or lose your investment.
See, like, you know, whenever I stopped doing this, 8 years old, when my Tamagotchi pet died, it was like such a crazy thing for me, right? Is that I was doing this Tamagotchi pet. I had my mom taking care of it while I was in class and school. And then I came home and I checked on it and it was dead. Mom said, yeah, I did everything I could, but it's dead. And I was like, never again. Never again. I realized, okay, this is bullshit. I wasted all my time. I'm never doing it again. And I never really did. Like, there were things that I would log into for Warcraft very regularly, but I never really felt compelled to at all.
Contemporary mobile games often have timers and energy mechanics, where your ability to progress the game is blocked until you come back when these resources have regenerated.
That's true.
While this is less harsh than your crop...
The majority of them, and by the majority I mean like 98% of them have this.
being completely lost, you'll feel pressure to come back at exactly the right time to maximize your rate of progress.
Yeah, and it's especially annoying whenever you have times where it's on an 18-hour timer and the energy replenishes at that rate and you don't have rested experience and rested energy. Like Honkai Star Rail has a really generous rested experience thing. Like Wuthering Waves, I think, has a much less generous rested experience thing. Or rested energy thing. And I think this should become, again, another commonality with games like this.
When you're not the one deciding when you play the game, but instead having the game decide for you, it's worth questioning your entire relationship with that game.
Exactly.
Some live service games create artificial scarcity for their store items. As entirely digital purchases, there's no physical requirement to limit the number of people who can purchase something, but doing so often causes it to sell much faster due to players fearing they're going to miss out. This pattern is similar to the one employed in gacha games, where they often have certain characters available for purchase.
Speaking of that, there's this really fancy horse in that Where Winds Meet game, and I really want it, but it's on the store and it's going to go away, so I have to spend $300 to get it before it goes away, or then I won't have it. Yeah, actually reminds me, I'm glad he mentioned this, because I forgot about the horse. It's got it's really cool. You guys will see. I'll show you guys later on. Really, really cool.
Only occasionally, causing a frenzy of activity when they are. Not only does this cause more sales, but it conditions players to check in with the game daily to see if the character they want is available for sale.
Yep.
There are a variety of dark patterns related to premium currency in games. Developers...
Premium currency in itself is almost a dark pattern. Like everything related to it is manipulative and against your best interest.
Can design their premium currency packs to be slightly too small to buy the most desirable items, requiring players to purchase more premium currency at once than they plan to.
Oops.
Developers can pick arbitrary exchange rates for their premium currency, so that players can't really understand the true cost of the item they're buying.
Well, they do it through multiple levels of abstraction to obfuscate how much money you're spending. It's very obvious what they're doing. And premium currencies in video games serve no functional value and purpose in order to improve the player experience. Like, I think that every single purchase that you make inside of a video game should be purchasable by either US dollars for that exact amount of the value, and the value should be assigned right next to it. So for example, this is kind of what I would want to see is, so you've got your game, right? And so if you have, it's 2,000 coins, right? Or it would be $10.33. This is what I think they should do. And you should be able to choose which one you want to buy it with. And it should have a direct average ratio, and that should be required at every single time that premium currency is ever shown. Xenosun Zero did that because and again, anybody who's against that wants to fuck you in the ass. That's the only reason somebody would be against that, is if they want to fuck you in the ass. That's it.
Cheap items can be placed next to expensive items in the store to make them look like better value.
Really? Think about it.
Some games employ special in-game or monetization events that are time-limited or seasonal. The content and rewards are only available for a limited time window.
Yep.
Players do not want to miss out on a unique reward that may never be available again, so this limited availability causes fear of missing out, which leads to intense and anxious play during the event window.
Yep.
There's also a phenomenon called the endowed progress effect.
This is super common in World of Warcraft, where a season was ending and people would be playing until 5 in the morning to finish things and get goals for the season, which is I get it in a way, but now that I'm outside of that, I'm outside of the cave, I can't imagine being back in it. I could not even imagine it.
That if players are given a head start on a reward track, then they are far more likely to finish the rest of that track so that they don't waste the progress they have so far, even though they didn't even make that progress themselves. It's a bit like the sunk cost fallacy.
No,
this is
a
why
lot of them are and you can see very clearly this is a commonality, that they're constantly trying to take advantage of your psychology and constantly trying to make you do something that you don't want to do.
Battle Pass schemes start with the first items already completed, or have some really easy ones that are inadvertently completed while
once
playing.
A day. Yeah.
This manipulates players into committing to complete a reward track that they may not have chosen to attempt without the free bump of progress at the start. So we've gone through a bunch of different dark patterns,
Yes.
and some of them seem pretty user hostile. You may be wondering, why would developers pollute their live service games with all this crap? Well,
money!
there are several answers to that question, and the first is that it works. These techniques are all highly effective. They produce the desired outcomes. They manipulate well-understood psychological principles that our human brains are vulnerable to. The second reason is that players generally tolerate many of these design patterns pretty well. Have a look at the games you play and see what techniques they're using from this video. Ask yourself,
dick eaters, after eating dicks long enough, will begin to enjoy the taste. This is very common. WoW players have had this happen, is you've had eating entropy, where during Legion and Warlords of Draenor, there was a lot of criticism and hostility about, like store mounts or pay to win or something like this. But now they can just add in an entirely new feature like the housing system, and players will contort themselves into excuses for why it's okay that they created another premium currency and another set of rewards that you have to buy things with now. Why is that? Well, what you've done is you've distilled down the most pristine eaters into your community, and those are the people that have the sunk cost fallacy, the claws into them so deep that it's part of their fucking nervous system. They, every single time, log in, they can't miss the rewards. They've been doing it for 17 years. It's just, it's so sick. It's so sick. And I feel like after, like, kind of moving away from that, I can't even imagine being that kind of a person again.
If these are a big enough deal that
Really
you'll quit
shocking.
playing the game entirely over them, chances are you're still playing the game despite the presence of these manipulative elements.
Yeah.
Another important reason is mindshare. There are a lot of live service games out
people
there, and
focused
players
on it,
have a
yeah.
limited amount of free time. If a game doesn't have all of the addictive hooks and manipulative retention mechanisms we discussed, then its players may find themselves compulsively logging into other games to complete daily tasks and
Yep.
forget to play this one. There are also foreign publishers. When a game releases and is popular in its home regions, publishers from other countries approach the studio and offer to localize and market the game in their region. But in order to take the risk of investing in license fees and marketing costs, the publisher is going to want to make sure the game is as sticky and lucrative as possible. The publisher dares not suggest changes to the actual game itself, as the game is already proven to be good. So
monetization.
the only way they have to juice the retention and monetization is through meta systems, which very easily stray into dark pattern territory. Finally, the entire games as a service industry measures the value of a game as a function of its daily active user count and its retention rates.
Of course,
if you're making a
which
live
makes sense.
service game, you're only going to be able to get funding if you have a solid plan to retain your users.
Yep.
That plan probably ends up involving some number of these dark patterns, because you have to compete against other games using these techniques. If you have a publisher or investor involved, they're probably going to want to see industry benchmarked retention and return from your game, and that is benchmarked against other games that are packed full of dark patterns.
This is also a really good point that he's bringing up, and it's something that's very rarely discussed, is that the companies that are trying to make video games that don't have these different systems in them are fighting such an uphill battle against finding funding and investment, especially whenever you're an investor. Do you want to invest into something that's going to make you $5 or $50? It's a pretty easy decision. And so, like, a lot of these companies, this is why video games turn into slop. It's because these companies create a expectation for following industry standards because they want to maintain investment. That's it. And, like, you don't really hear that a lot because it's not really it's not a public facing concern, but privately and for publishing, it is absolutely a concern. And he knows it much better than I do.
If you refuse to use dark patterns in your games, you're effectively competing with games that do
Exactly.
use them, while operating at a disadvantage on the metrics that investors care about.
Yep.
This situation really sucks. While by definition, a dark pattern is a design that benefits
It's like if other people are cheating and you're not cheating, you lose.
the developer at the player's expense, some of the techniques mentioned in this video aren't entirely evil, and if clearly communicated and balanced fairly, wouldn't qualify as actual dark patterns. For example, it's pretty clear that escalating login streaks are quite manipulative, because players really want to avoid breaking their streak. But flat daily login rewards might be more acceptable to players because the penalty for not logging in is just missing one day of rewards.
Well, like, I'm okay with like a login thing where it's like you have a return bonus where you have to log in 7 days and it's like it's on for a month. So like all you really have to do is log in 7 days out of the month and you get all the rewards. Like I think that's fine. It's not a big deal. But it's about whenever they try to lock you into doing it every single day. That's really it.
If those rewards are sufficiently generous and the game is not manipulative elsewhere, players might be happy with that system.
Exactly.
There are certainly players who really look forward to daily bonuses or special events in their favorite games and enjoy the structure and rewards that those bring, despite the drawbacks we've talked about. Some developers argue that a little psychological nudge can enhance enjoyment of the game, for example, by encouraging players via rewards to explore parts of the game they wouldn't otherwise try out.
That's true and it's not true. I think it's a very delicate process, and in terms of like creating incentives, like for example, I remember New World locked the artifact greatsword behind PvP, and it was really frustrating for me to have to do that. I didn't really want to do PvP, and it took a long time for me to get it, and I actually got relatively lucky with the speed that I got it at, and even I didn't enjoy it. So it's about really like it's this very, very weird balancing act between trying to nudge the player into doing something that they would not normally do to maybe show them another side of the game, while at the same time not trying to force gameplay. Very hard to do.
Achievement systems are a common example of this. I previously talked about how time-limited events can be manipulative because they often offer exclusive rewards that require a lot of work to unlock during a narrow time period and can take advantage of your fear of missing out. This is a problem when the event involves grinding out existing content, but honestly, isn't that bad when the event consists of interesting new content?
Exactly.
For example, back in January of 2017, Blizzard celebrated the 20-year anniversary of Diablo 1's release by introducing a special event into Diablo 3. The Darkening of Tristram was an homage to Diablo 1 within the Diablo 3 engine, complete with a pixelization shader and a strict orthographic isometric projection like Diablo 1. Players got to play through this mini version of Diablo 1 with their Diablo 3 characters, and it was honestly pretty cool. Even cynical old me reinstalled Diablo 3 and had a fun time checking it out. It looks like they're still running this anniversary dungeon event annually since then.
That's cool.
This was a very well-executed example of a time-limited in-game event that was a net win for everyone. I have nothing
Exactly. It's like a holiday event for Christmas or something like that's a cool thing. But whenever you're creating these events constantly just to keep people endlessly logging into the game, it becomes, this is what I think happens, right? So for me, this is kind of how FOMO works in video games, is that you can have, and I'm... you can have, basically, so you've got FOMO right here. And so FOMO keeps you in the game, but what I've learned, and I don't know if you guys have had the same experience, but after you eventually come out of the FOMO, it then becomes a barrier for you to get back into the game. Because now you don't necessarily want to do that again because you know that you're going to have to spend a bunch of time, grinding stuff out. You've missed out on things. So I think FOMO works as a double-edged sword where it's like, have you guys ever had a time where like you play a game every single day and you keep up with the daily rewards and everything, and then you miss a day and you're like, oh my God, I missed a day. I have to work extra hard. And then like there's a point where you miss 3 days and you're like, geez, okay, I guess, I'm just going to stop playing, right? And so I think that that's also what happens with these games. Now, obviously, every single video game would not be doing this if there was a net negative. But for me, and I think as an older player, for video games, I think I'm an older player. I'm 35. But for me, I think that a lot of people feel that way, right? Where they just don't really want to... they don't want to be put in that position. It's cannibalizing. Yeah, exactly. I had it with the gem. Yeah, exactly. And so like then you kind of don't even want to come back at this point because you're going to be behind. And so you're like, I'll just play something else. So to me, FOMO acts as a barrier to leave and also a barrier to join. That's the reason why, for example, I'd never play Destiny 2 right now, because there's just so much FOMO and so much stuff added into the game. It would be overwhelming to start at. And I think that's also the reason why like new MMOs are so appealing. It's because it's a reset on all of those FOMO mechanisms. And then as time goes on, as more of these FOMO things add in, you have an increasingly small amount of people that have been keeping up with it. And that's the reason why they die.
Complain about that.
Among other things.
On the other hand, time-limited events that don't introduce new content can be more dangerous. A number of years ago, a fellow game director told me a story about a live service game he was running. He wanted to increase player activity in the gaps between expansions, so he decided to try running a double experience weekend.
Oh.
It was a huge success and saw way more players playing than usual.
Wow.
After the weekend, however, player numbers dipped down below where they were before the weekend. So they ran another double experience weekend the following weekend.
Because now you've trained people to only play during double experience weeks in order to maximize. Let me guess.
You can predict where the story went. After a while, people only played on those special weekends because playing on weekdays felt far less worthwhile in comparison.
No.
The game eventually shut down. While games that overuse dark patterns alienate their users and eventually see the opposite of the good retention they were aiming for, the primary victims of dark patterns are the players themselves. Players affected by dark patterns find themselves compelled into behavior they wouldn't normally perform, whether that's making purchases they hadn't planned for, logging in on days they hadn't intended to play on, grinding content they wouldn't normally choose to grind, referring friends who might not have an interest in the game, or having to set an alarm at 4 a.m. to tend some crops. These actions have both an impact on their day-to-day life, but also reduce their enjoyment of the actual game itself. They often lead to feelings of anxiety, fear of missing out, commitment pressure, guilt, and frustration. The scary thing is,
what really multiplies this is whenever you have a social obligation. Like, if you guys ever had a time where, like, you're in a WoW guild and you're expected to, like, farm X, Y, or Z thing before you're, like, ready for the raid, and then, like, there's a social pressure for you to continuously, like, do some, like, brain-dead, really boring activity for, like, 50 hours. Oh, my God. I hate those so much. Those are, like, that's, like, the worst type of game design, in my opinion.
I'm an adult in my 40s who has spent his career working in live service games. I deeply know all about these tricks and still find them affecting me far more than I'm comfortable with.
Sure.
Imagine what it's doing to kids who are incredibly vulnerable to the constant bombardment of gambling, compulsion, addiction, loss aversion, and anxiety-inducing dark patterns that these games
can. Can you imagine being a kid now? You grow up on an iPad, your leg muscles haven't developed because you can't move, so you have trouble walking upstairs. Then you finally get to elementary school and you're going and you're fucking, you can't even read anything. Your brain's been, microwaved by Cocomelon. You finally are in 5th grade and you can kind of write your own name. You go to middle school and the kids there are doing Galaxy Gas. Then you start paying attention to these video games, and there's like a video game where, you know, you're getting groomed and there's all this weird shit in the game. There's like adult themes in it, like Roblox. Then on top of that, there's gambling mechanisms, and there's like this picture of this weird guy named Epstein. What is this? Who is this guy? And it's like, no, I'm serious. This is how these games are. And then you're doing Galaxy Gas in middle school. You're opening up your Instagram and you're watching TikToks of AI generated Hitler speeches. You're trying to like become a rapper and a content creator as well. Like, I mean, you're totally like, and by the way, and every single other, you know, Hitler one, you go from Hitler to like ads for like fucking gambling websites for crypto that are like advertised towards children. And then like, so you're trying to take your parents' money and gamble it so you can get your family out of debt, but you lost all the money and like you're 12 years old. Like, it's just the level of fucked kids are now by society is really kind of sad. It's really, really bad. And that's only by age 12. You do all that by 12.
So far in this video, I've tried to offer a relatively neutral take on the pros and cons of these game design patterns. While they're called dark patterns and have a high potential for abuse, I've explained that some of them are moderately harmless if used in a way that provides a lot of value for players. But if you're watching my channel, you probably want my actual opinion on all of this.
Yes.
I put a lot of thought into this area because I used to run a live service game, and I frequently had to make decisions related to what design patterns were used for meta systems, retention mechanics, and monetization. So here's my current take on this topic. First of all, I think that pretty much everything is fair game in terms of the actual design of the game itself. If a game is targeted at adults rather than children, I don't have a problem with people leaning on behavioral psychology research when designing the actual gameplay of the game and its reward systems within the game. Make your games fun, make them compelling, make people want to play them and want to return to them for their own merits.
I think money is where I have a problem with it. That's my line. Like, games that are addictive that want you to keep playing them, who cares, right? But like, whenever money is involved and they're trying to like get you to spend money, that's whenever it's problematic to me.
Your job as a game designer is to make a really fun game, and understanding how the human brain works is important for that. Players becoming invested in your game and deeply caring about their progression is a good thing. It's why people play games. But I draw the line at deploying dark patterns because they are related to retention systems, meta progression, and monetization. When I'm playing a game, I don't want to have a fear of missing out that makes me feel like I have to play frantically during time-limited events. I don't want to have to log into the game every single day to avoid breaking some stupid streak. I don't want to have to do some minimum amount of activity every day, otherwise I miss out on bonuses. I don't want to have to spam my friends to remind them to log in, otherwise I miss out on rewards. I hate all of this bullshit. When I was growing up... Remind them to log in, otherwise I miss out on rewards. I hate all of this bullshit.
Exactly. I do too. It's fucking annoying.
When I was growing up, games were designed to be fun, not manipulative. They didn't have literal behavioral scientists and psychologists on staff trying to rewire my brain.
Yeah, it's like you're fucking 12 years old and you have like an army of Harvard scientists and like psychologists that are trying to figure out a way to for you to give them $5. That their entire career, and there's an industry based around getting you to give them $5. That's a lot.
Look, I love the economic and competitive aspects of live service online games, but I just don't find myself enjoying most modern ones. Whenever I
also have live service game fatigue. I do. Like right now I've been playing Where Winds Meet because it feels like a new game to me because like everything's new. But like it'll be hard for me to maintain consistency playing it after it's had a number of updates because I'll be like, oh god, I'm going to do the same thing again, right? Like there's a sameness of it that happens. Like I've had that happen with every live service game I've played, right? Like I mean even PoE, right? But like especially like gacha games like Honkai Star Rail, like I was on it, and I stop. I'm just like, okay, I'm done, right? Or Wuthering Waves, right? I'm on and off. Endless Zone Zero even, right?
Daily tasks, seasonal events, and all the exclusivity FOMO, I just lose all hope that I'll actually enjoy playing the game because I know that it'll be playing me.
Yep.
If you're a developer and really want to add retention mechanisms without straying too deeply into dark patterns, what can you do? Well, first of all, you should try to make your game as fun as possible on its own merits, before relying on external meta mechanics to try to add engagement.
I think it's respecting the player's time. Like, that's really what matters, right? Give a login bonus, but like make it a 7-day thing out of a month. Like that way people can be pleasantly surprised. But like if you don't have people locked in and enjoying your game after 7 days, maybe you should make a better game.
Once you've done this, it's a matter of transparency, fairness, and respect for your players. Transparently communicate how things work and what players have to do in plain language. Avoid hidden gotchas that players are unaware of. For example, if you're using loot boxes, clearly communicate their drop rates. Try to ensure that optional challenges reward effort rather than attendance. Make sure that time-limited events last long enough for real-life schedules. Carefully consider whether reward should be exclusive or whether you should have the event return with the same rewards later, giving players a chance to get them if they miss out this time. It's worth thinking about the concept of time-agnostic gaming. Try not to care about when a player plays your game. Some people...
Yeah, exactly. Like I really love that. I've never heard that term used before, but I really like that term. Where it's like, I mean, I'm like, maybe like you guys are probably like this too. I think especially for you guys that have like jobs or like kids or like, both. Hopefully both if you have kids. You don't have a lot of time to like you have 15 minutes a day to play, 15 minutes a day to play, 15 minutes a day to play, and that goes on for 12 days, and then on the 13th day you have 6 hours to play. Have you guys ever had a situation like that? Where it's like you're not going to have time on a regular basis, but when you do have time, you want to make sure that you can like really make progress. And I think that video games that are focused around, yeah, exactly, right? And so like you want to be able to make it to where whenever a person does have those 6 hours, they can make a deep cut into your progression system, into your content, without feeling like they're being basically, because like the problem is like with a lot of the like gacha games especially, and a lot of like live service games, is they keep everybody on rails, where it's like you can't get too far ahead, you can't get too far behind. You're kind of just basically, you can get maybe 1 or 2 carts ahead, maybe 1 or 2 carts behind, but that's it. And I feel like whenever you have that, there's a futility to gameplay. That's the way I feel about World of Warcraft. Is that like I've lost my motivation to continue maintaining like consistency with the game because I realize that it doesn't matter what I do because I'm always going to end up in the same spot in 4 months. It's like fucking Groundhog Day.
Can't game every day, but have lots of time available on the weekends. It's unfair if the progress they make is slower than someone who manages to log in every day to claim some type of login reward. So that's been a tour through the dangerous world of dark patterns. As game developers, we have an obligation to think very carefully before we employ strategies like these. Push back and make sure that the reason you're adding something is because it's actually adding more fun, rather than because it'll artificially create more retention or juice some other metric. As gamers, we also have an obligation to push back.
Do not be a eater. Do not eat dicks. And if you want to eat dicks, never tell yourself that it's a hot dog. Never justify it. Say, I am a eater and I love to eat dicks. And do it as much as you want. But don't ever go and tell yourself that that's not what's happening.
Want more game in your games and less bullshit? Make sure that you communicate this to developers.
Don't lie to
Your money
yourself.
and attention are precious. Spend them wisely.
I'm just being honest.
If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much, and see you next time.
I can't wait for the next video.
President Trump is now calling on Republicans to...
I can't wait for the next video. I'm so glad Chris is making videos like this, because I mean, like, Rich and I interviewed him back in the day for Path of Exile whenever he was still working on that that game. I'm gonna link you guys his YouTube channel too. You guys can give it a like and subscribe to him. I think that his takes on things and like his insight into games is phenomenal. I love it and completely support it. So there's the video. Make sure to give him a sub. He's got 70,000 subs right now. I think he's made a couple of other videos in the past, but not too many. And so yeah, go ahead and give it a like, give him a sub. I want to see more of these. I really do, especially as somebody who's had so much insider and professional experience inside of the space. That's why I'd really want to see it more than anything else, right? Like, I would love, love, love to see that. Absolutely, man.